I'm Amy Kaufman with the Los Angeles Times, and we're here with George Tillman Jr. and Jennifer Hudson. Guys, tell me a little bit about your film, just as quickly as you can, 10 seconds sort of synopsis.
The film is about two kids, two boys, one 13 years old, one 9 years old. Their mother disappears last day of school, last week of school. And it's about these two kids trying to survive on their own. They learn about friendship, they learn about survival, they learn about life, and then we see how this fractured family come back together at the end of the film. That's the story of survival and the story of friendship.
Jennifer, where does your character come in there?
Well, I get to play one of the mothers of it's Mr.
Yep,
Mr.'s mom. That's what I play.
And your character is very different from how you're looking right now, beautiful and all made up. You have no makeup, you have a lot of tattoos. She's a heroin addict,
It's
right?
Gloria, not Jennifer. This is Jennifer sitting here. So that was the exciting part for me, and part of what drew me to the character is to play something so completely different and unexpected for myself.
Why did you see that potential in her, George?
Well, you know, it's so funny. I don't know if you remember this. We met like 9 years ago, like at the Grow. We met at the restaurant in Los Angeles. It was for another project, so we always knew each other and living in Chicago.
And I've always been a fan.
So when this script came around, immediately we thought of Jennifer. She read it, loved it, and for 2 years we're trying to get it together. She never left the project at all. And what I love about it is that we haven't seen her do anything like that. For me as a director, that surprises. For me as a director, it surprises for the audience who's seeing the movie. And at the same time, you get a fresh take on that kind of role. You know, we all seen characters who have addiction, but sometimes you get a fresh take for somebody that you don't expect doing something like that. I think that makes the film take it to a whole nother level at the same time.
Obviously, the stuff that Gloria is dealing with is really heavy. You said at the Q&A last night you spent some time with people who are actually struggling with drug addiction?
Yes, I actually went to a rehab center and got to sit with at least about 12 different addicts. Wow. And I got to hear each of their stories. And it was a complete eye-opener for me, into a whole new world. It was so interesting, and it was scary at the same time, because for me, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to be able to connect to this character or how I will be able to. So, but it was definitely a huge experience for me, but I had to find things that I could relate to be able to draw.
What did you relate to in them?
One, being a mother. I'm a mom, I have a son. Gloria is a mom. She has a son, and that way, that was the first connection. Outside of that, I'm like, God, I don't have a single tattoo. This is really not who I am. And then I don't even know how to say it. I've never had a drink before. I've never smoked anything before. So, or experienced in higher any kind of way. Wow. So to sit there and talk to the ladies, and they're trying to explain to me how to become this heroin addict and everything about it. In their explaining, they would say, okay, you know what it's like to be high, or you know what it's like when you have a hangover. And I'm like, I honestly don't. And it's two drastic opposites sitting there trying to become one, or trying to make it make sense. And so that was the most challenging thing for me. And I'm like, now, how am I gonna be able to do this? But what I decided to do, I was like, I have to make this real to myself in some kind of way. So what I came up with was, I was like, let me find one of them that I can relate to or connect to or just fall in love with. And so that's what I tried to do, and I just took from her, and I wanted to tell her story.
How did they react to you, Jennifer Hudson, the celebrity, being there? Did they let down their guard, or?
You know what? That was the tricky part. It gave me a new understanding of what bravery was. Like, that is so brave. I got to meet a girl. She was only like 19, 20 years old. So she knows very well who Jennifer Hudson is, and I'm one of her peers, or, I'm just like you, and now you have to sit here and tell your story. Because a lot of heroin addicts, sometimes you can't look at them and tell they're addicts. I would have never guessed that this young girl was an addict, and now you have to sit here and tell me your every story. So I found them to be extremely brave, and I thought it was so amazing. And some of them, they embellished their stories, but then they came to tell me, they're like, she made that up, or, but they did have a struggle with it, which is understandable, because, nobody wants to tell the secrets all the time,
Right.
And especially something that heavy. So it was really tough for them, but they were extremely brave.
And George, did you tell Jennifer coming into this, like, listen, your hair's gonna be crazy, you're not gonna get to wear makeup, like, you can't look glamorous, are you ready for that?
Yeah, I had the idea, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with someone who can push themselves. But right from when we first sat down, Jennifer was on the same page from the beginning. So I was like, how do you feel about the tattoos in the script? She's like, I'm for it. I was like, cool, let's push it further. So we got tattoos on the neck, tattoos on the back, tattoos on the arm. I said, how you feel, about going this punk rock kind of look with the hair? Let's push it. Cool. How you go with light makeup? Jennifer be like, I don't want any, So we just kept going with it, and I was like, okay, there's some scenes with addiction where you see glory in private moments. How you feel with that?
That was a little bit more difficult. Wait, now can we compromise here? We'll take baby steps there.
I was worried. There was that scene where you sort of shoot up and you're in the room and then your son walks in. I was like, where's this going? Like, she's in a bra. I didn't know.
It sounds in a way, I won't say sexual, but a lot of the addicts are related to it in a sexual way. Yeah. So it kind of it's kind of necessary to a certain extent, which was probably the part I was most like, no, you sure about this part? But I couldn't have been in better hands. Yeah.
And obviously another person from the music world is very well known. Alicia Keys produced this movie. Tell me about, and a lot of stars are producers like as vanity projects a lot of times, but it sounds like she was very involved in this.
Yeah, I was very involved from the beginning because, with a movie like this, we went early on to studios. Everybody liked the script, but who's going to take the chance to make the movie? So then it came down to it. I met, Alicia very early on. I was telling her about the material. Just, hey, let me just help you get it going. Let me help you get involved. And I was like, hey, you can get involved. How about music? Yeah, I get involved with music. And then about the early stages of raising the funds, getting people to believe in the project. I think with some of the credits in the movies I did in the past, with her credits, also she's done some films, with her involvement with the music, all that helped. Because like Mr. says in the movie, we all need help. We all need someone, and we needed some people involved with this movie. So her attachment, Jennifer attachment, Anthony Mackie attachment, people just kept getting attached, and it just helped the movie get where it is. This movie couldn't do it without everybody helping. That's how Alicia got involved.
Wow. Yeah. So it's weird because there's a lot of very well-known people and actors in the movie, but then you have these two newcomers who are 13 and 9-year-olds at the center of the movie.
Yeah.
Talk to me about finding them.
Yeah, that was going to be the tough one part because if I didn't find the kids, I felt like I shouldn't do the movie because they're in 168 scenes, and then almost every scene, point of view, except one moment when Anthony Mackie is approaching Dipstick in the film for 20 seconds. That was never meant to be. I just kept the camera rolling because they were so good. Everybody wanted Dipstick to get his comeuppance at the end of the movie. So they're in every point of view. So where are we going to find these kids? And immediately we thought, let's find them in Brooklyn in the projects. Let's find the real kids. That was successful for me when I did the Notorious movie by finding the real Biggie in the project right in the same neighborhood. We couldn't do it on this movie. So where we found our kids was in Los Angeles. So farthest away from
How
the
did they react to the project?
Immediately the first thing was to do is to drop them in there. And right away, I introduced Skyline right away to some kids that was in the Red Hook projects, which is one of the biggest, largest projects, and one of the projects in New York that hasn't been touched or hasn't been gentrified inside the projects. And that was one of the toughest projects. Immediately he got along with the kids, was able to adapt. And Pete at the same time got involved, Eric Desson, the actor who played Pete. So immediately the kids were in the area for 4 weeks. We just got them grounded into the role, and they came from Los Angeles, but they really felt like they were those kids because they talked to these kids in the neighborhood and hung around these kids.
What about for you acting these very adult scenes in front of a 13-year-old, what it was 11 or 12 at the time?
You know what? I didn't really think about that part at the moment. I feel like the hardest part for me was the part when I had to smack him. Yeah. I'm like, this is still somebody's child, and I don't want to, because that part was probably most awkward for me as a mother, and this is still a child, So that is what I probably found most difficult.
And I kept saying, slap him, keep going, go
I
on.
think we went over that a million times, and this mother is standing there like, oh my God. So that was the most awkward when it, came to, children in the room with,
Yeah. And just to wrap, you guys have been to Sundance before or no?
This is my first time.
It is?
First time as a film, I was here 11 years ago, 12 years ago, different. Huge, bigger, much more films, and it's exciting to come as a fan and then come later as a filmmaker. So I think it's a good platform to show films that sometimes necessarily the studios want to see later, so it's a good platform to be here. So it was a great time.
There you go. Jennifer, you're from Chicago. You said the coldness isn't even fazing you.
No, to me, today feels like a winter spring day. Like you can wear a light jacket.
It's like 30 out, by the way, people. Yeah.
Chicago, with this kind of weather. But I love it. I have to come back, definitely. It's beautiful. I'm so upset I gotta go, but. Yeah.
For you being in this movie, I know there's a lot of stars who are more well-established who are acting in Sundance films this year. were you looking to do a smaller movie? Do you think that sort of has a better role than a studio film right now?
I wouldn't say that. It's just, I don't even look at it in that way. I just like to do anything that I'm passionate about, that I feel like it's a story that's worth being told, and I felt like this was one of those stories. And I don't pay attention to like, oh, this will get this attention or that attention, or if it's too big or too small. It's just like, it's whatever drives me into it. And that's how I make my decisions on what I decide to do.
Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.